Backstage in Palm Springs, where the desert meets the stars, with Jason Mannino.
Hi. Coachella Valley has always been a sanctuary for artists, but today it's a powerhouse. Between the world-class talent that calls the desert home and the stars who travel here to grace our stages, Palm Springs has its finger on a nationwide pulse of theater, cabaret, and the vibrant culture that makes this city legendary. We're bringing you intimate conversations with the people who make it happen. Let's go backstage in Palm Springs. True pioneer in the lineage of Charles Ludlam, he took the torch of queer theater from the East Village mud and carried it all the way to Broadway. He's the visionary mind behind cult sensations like Vampire Lesbians of Sodom and Psycho Beach Party, and the Tony-nominated Broadway hit The Tale of the Allergist's Wife. Today we are joined by a legendary icon of the American stage, Charles Busch. We're catching him during a rare and significant stop in the desert. After more than a decade away from our stages, Charles is back for a limited engagement headlining the Replay series at the historic Plaza Theater on March 13th and 14th. He'll be stepping into the iconic role of Marjorie Taub in The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, alongside a spectacular Broadway cast including Harriet Harris, Alex Corey, and Louis J. Stadlin, and that's followed on Sunday, the 15th at 6 at the Palm Springs Cultural Center, where he'll be discussing his best-selling memoir, Leading Lady. Charles, welcome to Backstage in Palm Springs.
Well, it's wonderful being with you, Jason.
Thank you. You are so welcome. And I'm just going to dive in here. It's been a while. It's been 10 years or so. What made you decide that this was the project that you wanted to bring you back to the desert? And that's if I've done my homework correctly. The last thing was at the Copa. You did your cabaret there. Is that...
No, I think after that I was at the Purple Room. I think maybe once or twice.
Okay. I didn't see that. I was wondering why you haven't been there. Okay.
There a couple times. Yeah, it's so lovely.
Yes, it is.
It really was. I haven't been traveling around with my cabaret act for quite a while. I've had other things going on, the legitimate theater, so I haven't been doing that much except in New York. And then I'm just thrilled to be asked.
Yeah, no, this is a big surprise. I love Palm Springs, number one. I've got good friends there, and I'm just enchanted with the whole history of Palm Springs. Thrilled to be back. But yeah, this just came about that a friend of mine, David Zippel, Broadway lyricist, is curating this series of concert readings of plays at the Plaza Theater, newly restored Plaza Theater, and one of them was The Allergist's Wife. And I think he initially called me to want to know about getting the rights to the play. And then I think I said, well, can I play the lead? And then
Of course.
he got excited about it.
I'm sure he said, absolutely, please.
And then he got this incredible cast together. I mean, really first-rate people who and it sounds, fake, but I'm really, really on the level that these are people who I've always wanted to work with. Yeah. So it's very exciting.
Such a great play. It's one of my favorites. I love it. It's on my bucket list. I'm an actor as well.
Oh yeah, you'd be good. You could play Ira.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't a part, Marjorie, it wasn't a role that I ever intended to play. It was really written for Linda Lavin,
right,
who played it on Broadway.
Right.
And one of the goals of writing the play was that I thought that there really weren't enough just big demanding roles for an older actress. Usually, if there is a part, it's the mother and it's kind of a supporting part. And I wanted to see if I could just write something that gave a really big workout to an actress. And in fact, I probably went too far, because when Linda was first approached about playing it, she turned it down because she said it was, yeah, she said it was
I know that because it's in your memoir.
Yeah, so it was just too much. But then fortunately, we convinced her to play it, and she had a great success and was nominated for a Tony. And I sort of think that it provided her with a template of for the roles that she played then for the rest of her career.
Wow.
This sort of agitated, urban woman. So yeah, I take pride in it.
Yeah,
And
that's fantastic. And it's 25 years now. We're in the 25th anniversary, 25th year, I believe, of The Allergist Wife. And
yeah,
so tell me, after a quarter of a century of having Linda do it, I think other Valerie Harper did it at one
yes.
point. How does it feel to get to put Marjorie Taub on at this point and take on that cultural neuroses?
Well, it started actually in 2019. It was the 20th anniversary of the play, and Linda phoned me with this idea of doing a 20th anniversary concert reading, uh, on Broadway for one night. And I thought, wow, how cool. And she looked so great. I said, well, naturally you'll play your part, won't you? And she said no, which she had this idea that I should play Marjorie and that she would play the role of the mother because Cheryl Bernheim, who created that role, had passed away. And then it was her, she really produced this 2019 reunion, and
Mhm.
she got Tony Roberts and Michelle Lee and,
Wow.
and Anil Kumar to come back and play their parts. And I'd never thought of, I really never thought of playing this role, but it was so exciting, and to be on stage with Linda, she was just the most fascinating actress and complex lady, and she was so, as they say, in the moment. You never knew what she was going to do on stage, and yet it was always right. And so to have the opportunity of playing with her was so cool. And then I've done since then. I did a friend of mine has a theater up in Sharon, Connecticut, and we did a reading of it there with Richard Kind and I think Joanna Gleason
Oh,
and
wow.
and myself.
That's
So.
great to hear. So how do you enjoy putting her on Marjorie?
Well, I have to say I really do use Linda's outline. Or
Sure.
yeah, I mean, she was so perfect, and I wrote it for her, so I heard her voice, in my head while I was writing it. So it's kind of one and the same, but I don't think I'm doing an impersonation as much as I think I'm choosing all of her intentions, if that
That's
makes any.
interesting because my next question asks, how did witnessing her specific process change the way you write or perform for the formidable women now? Is it still with you?
Well, it's very different from what I usually do because, my career as I don't know, male actress, whatever, is often based on my observations of actresses from the golden age of Hollywood or old stage actresses that I've read about. So, I might evoke in my other plays Greer Garson or Betty Davis, let's say, or Vivian
Hmm.
Leigh. In this case, this is a contemporary play about a very contemporary woman. And so I, if I'm evoking anyone, I guess it's Linda Lavin. But what I did learn from doing it several times is that certain things Linda had this very specific sound that she had. I don't know, she should have had her nasal passages, you know, insured by Lloyd's of London or something, because she could sort of do this thing, with her voice, mother, and yeah,
Yes,
I
I
can't
hear
really,
it.
I
I can
can't
hear
really
it.
do that, but I understand. I think I have a good sense of the emotional line of what she was trying to achieve in different places, and so now I think I can not be quite. It's not so much mimicry as just playing it with her interpretation. Yeah.
Sure. Understood. Understood. Marjorie wants to be elegant and cultured, and in this play, she seems to be falling apart. She's failing a bit. Is it harder to play someone failing at that very grace you've spent your career perfecting in so many ways?
Yeah, well, yeah, she's this kind of culture vulture, and she's had this sort of late midlife crisis of where n nothing. She just feels like such a failure, and nothing is quite good enough.
Mhm.
everything, all the things she believed in, all the, cultural heroes that she's just immersed her life celebrating. It's just not enough, and her marriage feels stale. And she's got an elderly mother who's never ever given her any encouragement. So she's at this play starts where she's at such low ebb, and she's had this terrible breakdown at the Disney store on Fifth Avenue, where suddenly she just out of the blue started hurling porcelain figurines, of the Little Mermaid's father and Aladdin's genie. She couldn't stop. So yeah, so she's in a terrible place, and then this rather miraculously, uh, her childhood friend, who she hasn't seen in 50 years, Lee Green, accidentally shows up,
Mhm.
who's this very worldly, fascinating woman who's been everywhere, was, covering the Nixons in China.
Played by Michelle Lee,
Michelle Lee created
original
that part
production. Hmm.
wonderfully, yeah. And oh, she was in the recording studio when all those rock stars recorded "We Are the World" because she's a
Mm.
close friend of Quincy Jones. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
she's been everywhere and done everything, and yeah, so she's ever lived the life that Marjorie wishes she'd lived. And so she comes back in. I guess it's a little bit. It's funny. It's a little bit like Desperately Seeking Susan for 60-year-olds.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
The square lady and then the hip lady. Yeah, and so that's uh and I guess one of the things in writing it was I had this character that I had been playing in my cabaret act in kind of 10-minute sketches named Miriam Passman, who was this uh, New York Jewish housewife with great cultural frustrations. And I really enjoyed playing that, and I was able to use for the first time in my writing, I really could use the my own cultural background, and the women that I knew when I was very young, growing up in Westchester, and just throughout my life, really, not in my family, but in just the people that I would meet, and
Hmm.
I've worked with. And so yeah, so this first time I explored that. And then it was so interesting for me that I really wanted to write a play around that lady. And I'd written the book to a musical for Manhattan Theater Club, which is, one of the top nonprofit
Oh,
theaters.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a question about Lynn Meadow coming up.
Yeah. And anyway, I really hit it off with Lynn Meadow, the artistic director of that theater, and so she said, "Write me a play, and I'll put it on
Mhm.
at my Broadway theater." And so I thought, well, Vampire Lesbians of Sodom Part Two may not really go. They're kind of there's subscription membership is
Right, right. Yeah,
a
exactly.
little on the square side. So anyway, so I thought, oh, this is the perfect opportunity to write that play about this lady. And then I'd also seen an incredible revival of Edward Albee's The Delicate Balance that was done on Broadway with
Ooh.
Elaine Stritch and Rosemary Harris. And I thought, oh, what if I took this kind of Neil Simon type woman, a New York lady, and what if I placed her, though, in the middle of a rather cryptic Albee or Pinter universe? And so that was kind of the original source of comedy.
And Lynn was really, I think, the person in my learning about you and in the memoir that really helped usher you from downtown to Broadway. And looking back now that she's retired as the AD over there at Manhattan Theater Club, in what ways has she challenged your instincts and helped you evolve as a theater artist, writer, or performer?
Well, uh, how should I say this? Well, the main thing is that she just gave me this incredible opportunity. I hadn't really, I had exactly the career that I've wanted.
Hmm.
I'm just so lucky, and in some ways it's been outside, for the most part, outside of commercial showbiz. I've been able carve out this very unique, eccentric career as a writer performer, just working with people that close friends, people that I love, and having the financing to do my play, write my plays, and do them at first-rate nonprofit theaters in New York, but none of them had a Broadway house. And but I was perfectly happy with that. And I really never fantasized, never, I'm telling you honestly, never fantasized about, oh, someday I want to play on Broadway. It just didn't, I was very happy with um, starring in my own plays. I mean, it's what an incredible career I've had, just doing
Absolutely.
what I
Agreed.
wanted to do, and so I did. I maybe was wrong of me not to think in a higher way. Oh, I want to star in a TV sitcom. I want a big Broadway show. It's just never really been a dream of mine, particularly. And so then Lynn Meadow came along, and as I said, I had written the book to a failed musical for her theater, but she and I really hit it off, and then she said, "Write me a play," and I did, and I guess it's sort of odd to explain, that I have it my whole career from since I started out just out of college. I had goals, but not big ambitions. And does that make any sense
Does
at all?
make sense. Yeah, it does make sense to me.
I
That
just
brings
like
me to an
did, you know. And so it's never really changed. And even the movies I've made were, small independent films, Die Mommy
mhm.
Die, Psycho Beach Party. I acted, had small, tiny parts in a couple big, mainstream movies. But yeah, even with my work in film, it's been just I've been lucky that I've been in a kind of a cocoon of affection. Yeah.
What do you think inspired Lynn? I know she came to you and said, I want you to write a play and I
Like
want to put it in my Broadway house." What inspired, what
I think
motivated
it's
and inspired
purely
her?
I think it's purely that she liked me. No,
Mm,
we um she was not with this musical that I did at Manhattan Theater Club. Uh, she did not direct it, so I had never really met her before. But I don't know. I guess for one thing, I wasn't afraid of her. She's rather imposing. Literally, she's 6 feet tall, and she's a very, very strong, dynamic leader of this theater and Manhattan Theater Club. And she'd been doing
yeah, it
that.
was 53 years of that in that
Yeah,
really respected path in New York.
yeah, and so I think some people could be rather intimidated by her, and maybe because I really didn't want anything from her, and
Mm.
my hopes and dreams weren't pinned on or predicated on her approval. That I don't know. I just kind of I was just very easy with her, and I don't know, I made her laugh, and so
That helps.
I
That
th
always
yeah,
helps.
I honestly think I think she thought I was talented, and I'm a real pro.
Sure.
I despite my beginnings, in the East Village, I'm not a kook,
Yeah.
I deliver. I've
Yeah.
never in 50 years I've never missed a deadline.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, I'm kind of like this old-fashioned kind of, you know,
Work ethic, integrity, all that stuff. That goes a
yeah, I
long
just
way,
do
right?
it. I just do it. I was so bad in school. I was so unscholastic that I sometimes think that I'm still trying to prove even to myself that I can succeed. I can do the assignment, and I will do the assignment, on time and to the best of my ability and with full concentration, which I could not do in school when it was things that didn't really interest me. So I think I'm always still trying to be the best student.
There is that distinction between focusing on what interests you and being told what you need to
Yeah.
study. I did that in college, finally. So
Yeah,
that's
I just wasn't interested in, it was funny because as a kid, I mean, I was writing full-length plays at 11 years old, and yet I know my teachers all thought I was just this kind of invisible, oddball. And, because I just couldn't, I had great powers of concentration when I was interested, but as far as math or social studies or anything in school, I just was kind of out of it. But yeah, so back to Lynn Meadow. I think she was attracted to me number one because she liked she liked me as a writer working on this musical, and she appreciated that I was very so focused and no nonsense and no bullshit and and then and I made her laugh, and I don't think that many people make her laugh. So I think I became a little bit of the gay the gay younger brother that she
Hmm.
fantasized about having. She was an only child, and we really hit it off. And so then she made this incredible offer to me, which sometimes is you can't really believe, but she said, right, if you write a play, uh, I will produce it, but I want to direct it now, and I'll put it in my you know big theater. Well,
That's amazing.
actually, no, I'm getting it. I'm really screwing it up. No, she did not. No, we did it. No, she did not put it in her big theater. No, I wrote it, and it was in stage two. It was in a very small
Okay.
theater, and then it the reviews were so great, and it
Yeah.
really took off, and so then it was transferred to the Barrymore Theater on Broadway, where it had this long run and was nominated for the Tony. But yeah, I'm getting
Got
things.
it. No, yeah, I remember that now. So, and then keeping on this theme of going to Broadway, you also had said that you kind of operated it for a while under the assumption that your specific brand of drag parody wasn't Broadway material. So what does it mean to you now to see somebody like Cola Scola and
Yeah.
O'Mary become this massive mainstream phenomenon? And what do you think has shifted in the landscape that is allowing that to happen?
I know it is sort of odd because I really did not feel, and I think I was right, and I could. There was some when Oh Mary opened, I was my name was mentioned in so many of the reviews,
Oh
because
wow.
Cole and Cole, so he's a friend of mine, and I'm really fond of him, and I think he's so talented, uh, and he's been incredibly gracious and generous in mentioning his uh, uh, that I
Yeah,
was a stylistic influence on him. Um, so yes, and there was some journalists in their review of O'Mary said, "Huh, how sad." Now you never want to be mentioned in a line that begins with "how sad," but somebody mentioned that how sad that Charles Busch never had a producer like Colascola had with Kevin McCollum to put one of his plays on Broadway. But that's rather simplistic because it's all the time the moment that you're in, and Cole for I don't know. I don't know that I don't have memorized the particulars of his career, but I think for a good 10 years or more has been building,
yes.
a real presence on television and and the internet. And so I mean he's got, hundreds of thousands of whatever of, you know, followers. So
You
I
know what,
think
Charles? I'm going to need to stop you and ask you to bear with me for one moment because I need to make sure my computer's running out of battery. Sorry, bear with me for one moment. We'll be able to edit this out.
sure. Oh,
Right. Yes, that's it. Sorry. Sorry
okay.
about that. Please.
So should we get back to Mary?
Yes.
How do I start into this?
We're talking about the lineage and him acknowledging you and the
Okay.
producer and being mentioned in the reviews about the
Yeah.
producer.
Well, yes. Well, I do think yeah, I mean, it would be easy for me to think like, oh, damn it, how come, one of my drag vehicles didn't move to Broadway? But it's everything is unique to our different experiences. And as I said, yeah, if one of my plays 15 years ago moved to Broadway, I don't know if it would have been such a big hit because I didn't have a big internet f following and all that. And so, I mean, all these things matter today that made it the perfect storm for Oh Mary to be a hit, and
Yeah.
it's very funny. And I also think too, I that we're at a place where people are desperate to laugh. You know, with the world being so terrifying. That I think it was, in a way, reminds me a bit of my experience with Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, which was off Broadway, but in 1985, it was the height of the AIDS crisis,
Mhm.
and particularly with the gay community being so traumatized that to have this very just silly, lightweight piece of froth, uh, it was needed, and it ran for so long, and I think there's might be a bit of that with Oh Mary too, that it's needed right now. It's something just that purely wants to entertain on the silliest fun level.
Especially right now. Especially right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Critical.
I mean, it was interesting. Cole and I had a lovely dinner not that long ago, and kind of talking about the similarities and our experiences. In a way, O'Mary is kind of a synthesis of my experiences with Vampire Lesbians and then Allergist's Wife on Broadway, put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping in this sort of theme of how things have shifted during your tenure in this world, you've called the leading lady mask a subversive act, and in a world where drag has become pretty mainstream but also highly politically targeted, is that mask still a subversion, or has it shifted? Has it become something else for you?
Well, it's certainly, I mean, it's just when you think that through RuPaul's Drag Race that drag just has become so kind of accepted and generalized, but then all of a sudden, with the rise of the right wing, it's there's certain places where they want to outlaw drag, not just for as a to protect the children, but just in general. So yeah, it's in a way it's become subversive again.
Hmm,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
That
But
makes
for a
sense.
while there, I did think, oh, well, now it's drag because of RuPaul's Drag Race. There has to be kind of a standard, for a competition show. There has to be. I'm being terribly inarticulate. S- what's the word I'm thinking of? Just that, like everybody on that show.
A template almost.
It's a competition, so therefore, they have to, everybody has to lip sync. That's a,
Right.
it has to be a really, and there are many drag performers who don't lip sync, but for a competition show, you have to have certain things that everybody does, and so in some ways, think, oh gosh, everybody to the majority of the world, drag means that you have lip sync and do a death drop split, and that
So maybe cookie cutter is the
yeah, sort of cookie cutter.
almost.
But I don't know. And then all of a sudden, everybody has to defend themselves, and it's things become more edgy, and now we're edgy again. Yeah.
Is that a good thing, or
Well,
it's a thing? It has to happen,
it's the thing that happens. I
or
don't
it's
know.
critical. Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I feel that that's what's happening.
Aunt Lil, she was your Jewish Auntie Mame. How does she still show up for you? Maybe when you're standing in the wings or thinking about her new character or your next cabaret or
Well, I was just very, very fortunate that my parent really was my Aunt Lillian. She was my mother's older sister, and my mother died when I was 7. And my father was just so much fun. But I always say that he's as delightful as he was. Uh, you really wouldn't want him to take care of your dog for a holiday weekend, and he was rather detached, and so uh, my aunt ultimately adopted me when I was 14, when I was flunking out of school, she brought me to live with her in Manhattan. It's very much like the plot of Auntie Mame. And she was just this really extraordinary person. And literally the day does not go by that I'm not thinking of some lesson she taught me, hearing some words, and I seem to be of an age too where I'm passing that on to younger friends of mine, and just I find myself just saying these things almost like I'm, channeling her. But she was extraordinarily wise, and I think she was very concerned when I was so young and living in a kind of a fantasy world of just trying to get me to be pragmatic and find a certain truths and live by them and I
You
think she
also say in your book that, someone who was, I think, a nurse and a teacher and very, very pragmatic, that as a young, particularly when you were young, she noticed in you the artistic side
yeah from the very
beginning
beginning.
to express, and that I think you say that you sort of allowed her to have that for herself as well.
Yes, because for the longest time I thought, oh, I saw it all from one side, just so that how extraordinary that she just was so devoted to me and yeah, just so trying to get me on this right path to be the best that I could be. Uh, and that from the very beginning, one of the things I'm so lucky is that, I do think, I would imagine, I've never had children, but I would imagine that many parents, you bring a child into the world and there's a certain fantasy of what you'd like them to be and what you hope the future will be. And then if that kid doesn't really fit what that fantasy is, there can be a real problem. But I think with my aunt, whatever my interests were, she would have developed.
Mm.
If I was interested in science, she would have done everything she could to get me to, give me opportunities. Or if I was athletic. But in this case, I was my interests were cultural, and so it made it a little bit easier for her. But I think in writing my memoir, I had to be much more reflective than I usually am, and I began to see that how magical it must have been for her to have this from the beginning. Though I went to live with her at 14, I was almost living with her my whole life, basically, on weekends and all that. And I think that must have been rather fascinating for her to have this child who saw the enchantment in small things. Just she took me to we were running errands in the city, and she was looking for fabric to make new dining room curtains. We go to the fabric store, and at 9 years old or something, I would find that while she was paying for the fabric, there'd be a little basket full of remnants of fabrics, and I'd find some sort of little piece of sequin fabric that fascinated me because one side was glittery and the other side was matte, and I was kind of enchanted by it. And I would think it must have been really cool for her
And I
to,
remember it's in your book where you say that she actually picked up the watch and bought the watch for you to take home, I think, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. She knew I'd be, kind of fascinated. Just all those things. She started taking me to the theater when I was 8 to Broadway shows, and I think, and then she.
What did you see? What was the
So, well, first show we saw was this musical called Tavarich. Didn't run terribly long. It starred Vivian Lee, and
That's
I
interesting.
at 9 years old or whatever it was, I had already seen Gone with the Wind, so I was totally fascinated by Vivian Lee, and then she wasn't stage struck herself, but she made sure that I got to see Vivian Lee up close. So after the matinee was over, she found the backstage alleyway with the stage door to bring me there. And just
It's
she,
amazing. That's great.
yeah, it was just how fortunate to have that person in my court like that. Yeah.
And then you also had Joan Rivers in your court. And I have to be honest, I was pretty obsessed as a gay kid. I was pretty obsessed with with Joan Rivers, and of course you became very close with her. And I just wanted to ask, what when as the unusual boy you were, and that I was as an adolescent, what was she giving us that could not be found anywhere else, Miss Rivers?
Well, I get mixed up sometimes between her public persona and then the lady I knew, which
Mm,
were sort of similar. She wasn't one of these because there are people who are, really on, in their public life and really off. And she was really funny. I mean, she was very funny in real life. But there was also this other side of her, of sort of Mrs. Rosenberg, who was this really elegant lady living on Fifth Avenue, and who was so interested in other people. I've met, I really have come into contact with many celebrities, and oddly enough, since I've had this weird career off Broadway, but I don't know, it's kind of incredible how many people I've just come across, and I found she was rather unique in that she absolutely was fascinated by other people. And she, like if you met her, she would just be she'd be asking you a million questions about your work and your program and your podcast and how do you did this. And when she would come to an opening night of mine or a preview, and we would go out afterwards, she just wanted to know everything about how, why I wrote this play, where did it come from, how did I think the performance went, what are my hopes for it, and sometimes, we try to get her back. I try to get her back on to talk about herself, and that was my night. No, she was just, oh, I just loved her, and I miss her so much. And after she died, I don't know. I tried sniffing around other older actresses, thinking I could try to replace her, and
it's Joan Rivers.
well,
How do you do that?
you can't replace anyone that you really love, can you? I mean, really. I mean, there's only one of them, and it took me a while to accept that. But yeah, no, she was just absolutely fascinating, and with her close circle of friends too, you did feel this great security that if anything bad happened to you, she'd fix it.
There,
Like,
yeah.
one of her closest friends, Henry, needed a liver transplant, and he was way down on the list. She got him a liver.
Wow.
It's
Got
you're
him on the
very, very safe that she would be there. Yeah.
That's great. Back to Allergist Wife. You were nominated for a Tony in 2001 for Best Play. Did you have a speech
Oh
there?
yes. Oh yes. I just don't understand this thing with actors when they say, when they get up and win their award, and they say, "Oh my God, I haven't even. I'm so surprised. I haven't even thought about this. Really? Really? I don't know. There's a month at least between the nomination and announcement and the award thing that not once did you in the bathroom mirror start sort of organizing your thoughts. No, and of course I didn't stand a chance of winning. I was nominated for best play along with
Proof won that year.
these unknown writers, August Wilson and Tom Stoppard.
Tom's the part.
I mean, really, I mean, and the winner was David Auburn for Proof.
Yes,
Wonderful play, and
great play.
I mean, I was really lucky that I got the fourth spot
So do you have a
nomination.
2026 version of that speech, and would you like to give it here today?
I'm sure I can't remember, but I'm sure I thank Lynn Meadow and very much, and well, then I got to make a big speech recently, about a year ago. A real shockaroo for me was I got inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame, which I never thought they would have thought of come to me because in a way I didn't actually fit the qualifications for the Theater Hall of Fame. You have to have had I think five Broadway credits, and I don't. My career has all been off Broadway, so technically, it was a bit of a stretch, uh, and that was such a surprise. And I had to had to find someone, a colleague, to present it to me,
Hmm. Who presented it?
I chose Julie Halston,
Uh,
she's kind of like a sister to me, and yeah, I've written, I think, I don't know, at least 14 different roles for her. and she's really my stage buddy. And she when few weeks before the ceremony, we were having dinner, and I said, "Have you thought about what you're going to say to present me with the award?" And she's just outrageous. She's a funny comic lady, and she was saying to me, "Oh, well, first I thought I'd say how you were the first one to see something special in me, and because of you, I was able to have a career." I said, "Whoa, whoa!" I said, "It's supposed to be about me." And why I deserve this award. So ultimately, she came up with a really great speech, and it was a chance. Then when I spoke, it was a opportunity for me to thank the various colleagues who were instrumental in my career, the few directors. I've worked with very few people in some ways for such a long career, just very few directors, so I could really name them. And then, it was quite emotional for me because I did all my ghosts that are surrounding me, and particularly at that moment, my aunt and then my sister Margaret, who passed away maybe a year before the induction
Award.
ceremony.
Yeah.
And that's my sister and I were, I can't imagine any siblings being as close as we were. I mean, we
Great.
never, through our whole entire adult lives, we never had even the slightest bit of tension between us. It was just pure,
That's amazing.
pure support. We fought the cats and dogs, when we were children. But then she's 3 years older, 2.5 years older than me. And at a certain point, you become the same age. I think it was when I was 16 and she was almost 19, we became the same age at that point. And from that moment on, it was just pure love and support, and just fascinated with each other. I mean, even though she didn't have the confidence to be an actress, she was a very good actress, and it was too bad that she didn't have that kind
Oh
of
yeah, there's a story in your book about getting her to do summer stock one summer after a breakup she had. That is
yeah. She was a very good actress, but it takes a certain kind of insanity to want to commit to a career like that, where you're going to earn a living is so difficult for most actors. So she just couldn't do that. But she was so funny and magical. I was her best audience, really. She was in some ways, in real life, more the performer than I am. And
interesting.
I miss her so much. It's just, I guess there's some losses that you don't really quite recover from, do you? And man, I'm laughing, and I'm having a good time, but there's
They're
things
always with you, always there.
I can't talking about it right now. I could suddenly cry. I'm not going to do that to you, but I just yeah, I can't.
No, there's a deep love that doesn't go away.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
dissolve.
yeah.
So yeah, I hear that. I hear that. We are about to wrap up, and I do have two more questions.
Okay, I'll make them quick.
First one is what one question are you shocked that people don't ask you?
Sure, it's so difficult. Um, oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like I've been asked so many questions. Has anybody not asked me? I don't think there has been a question. The tricky part for me, the challenge is trying to come up with a fresh way of answering a question that's been asked me you know 50 times.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
usually
That's
so,
my challenge as your interviewer was like, I gotta find some questions that
yeah.
not everybody does
Usually
ask.
they ask me when we do a long thing like this, yeah, they ask me about how I started off when we did Vampire Lesbians off Broadway and how that all happened, because it really is like Brigadoon. I mean, it's this miracle. But I've told that story so much and I've
Oh, yes.
exploited it. So in both a fictional novel that was autobiographical, and then in my regular memoir, I've told it so. So it's really hard to not just have it reduced to a series of one-liners that you just go from one to the next. That's a real challenge.
And then is there a question that you want to be asked that you don't that you don't get asked?
What's it like being a world-class beauty?
That's a good
It's
question.
different. It's
And
difficult. It's difficult.
Charles, thank you so much for your time. I've really appreciated talking to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. As a reminder, we'll get to see Charles Busch doing the replay series, taking on the role of Marjorie Taub and Shell of the Allergist's wife at the iconic reinvigorated, reopened Plaza Theater on March 13th and 14th, and then at the Cultural Center with his book Leading Lady the evening of Sunday, March 15th, which is where I will see you. I'm not going to be able to come to the reading, unfortunately, but I will see you at the Cultural Center on Sunday. Thank you
Okay.
so
I'll see you
much.
there.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.